Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. Hello there, it's Brad. The Empowerography Live Conference 2026 is happening live and in person for the first time here in Toronto in April of 2026. This is your chance to step fully into your power over 2.5 incredible days. You'll hear from 30 plus inspiring speakers, join hands-on workshops, and connect with women from around the world who are ready to grow, learn, and rise together. This isn't just an event. This is an experience that will leave you motivated, empowered, and ready to take action. Seats are limited, so head to my website and secure your spot today. All the information will be in the show notes, and we look forward to seeing you in April. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest is Corbin Chase. She is a holistic health professional, a medical intuitive, a spiritual teacher, and the owner of Corbin Chase Health. Welcome, Corbin. How are you doing today?
Thanks so much, Brad. I'm doing well. So happy to be here.
Excellent. I am so excited to have you here. We have been planning on this for quite a while, so it's nice to finally have you here and be able to jump in. So thank you so much for being here, for taking and making the time to be with me today, and for opening up and sharing a little bit about your story, your journey, and the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do. So with that being said, let's get this party started. I'm curious, what was the catalyst moment inside corporate leadership when your soul whispered, "You're not supposed to be here anymore, Corbin"? And how long had it been whispering to you before you decided to listen?
I think it was towards the end of my corporate journey. I was in corporate America for 11 years. I started actually working full-time in corporate America when I was 18. When I look back from like my spiritually wise perspective, I know that being in corporate America and taking that journey was needed for the things I want to do in the future. But it's like once that lesson has completed, there's just this feeling of, I don't really know if this feels like where I'm supposed to be anymore. And it takes a while for that to settle in. So it was definitely probably 2 years total for me to sit with that new feeling that came in, start listening to that whisper, and then start to plan for a big pivot.
And so what were you doing in corporate, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so I was hired in high school because I was actually pretty tech savvy. I was into coding, and I had run like a few businesses like early on. I've always been an entrepreneur. So I started off working in TAC, their technical assistance center. And then from there, I worked with engineers, and then I went into business and strategy planning. And then from there, I started working internal in mobility services. And then I really just kept getting closer and closer to the heart of the company and the heart of the people. And now I'm a healer, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So can you describe then the moment you realized that staying where you were was costing you more than walking away?
Yeah. It's like when the intuitive whisper comes in, or like that nudge that you feel where it says, I don't really know if this is meant for me anymore, and you don't listen to it, it starts showing up in more profound ways. My health started taking hits, opportunities didn't work out, that was frustrating, and then it started to bleed in other parts of my life. You're still on this trajectory that is fine, but it's really not the most aligned path for you. So things just continued to stop working out, and then eventually I was like, I have to stop because I'm becoming very unhappy.
Okay. And so when you look back at that version of yourself, what was she clinging to and what was she quietly craving?
I was clinging to, at the time, the way I was raised is very like I needed to perform, is how I felt like I was raised, and I wanted to perform in my job. But the cost of that was losing Corbin, like my authenticity, who I really was. So what I was craving was actually being who I was, even though I had pretty much lost touch with her altogether. So that's definitely what I was craving.
So I'm very curious to know, what was your very first experience or nudge or knowing or moment that made you realize and acknowledge your intuitive and spiritual gifts as something that was real and not imagined, like where you stepped into it and realized, okay, this is the real deal?
Yeah, that's such an important question because when you're working with something metaphysical, like spiritual gifts and psychicness and all of these cool things, they just sound ridiculous because I wasn't raised to believe this stuff. But the
Mm.
proof kept happening. I kept just knowing things. And I'm like, how do I know this stuff? And I didn't really put a psychic label on it until later. But I had this one really cool aha moment because I started off first being a yoga teacher and then becoming a certified clinical hypnotherapist where I was facilitating a past life regression. And I was teeing up to the point where I was going to ask the name of the individual she was talking to. And I heard the name in my head and I wrote it down on my
Mhm.
paper. And I was like, I'm just going to write it down. And I didn't really think much of it. And then I asked her and she said the name I had on my paper. And I remember, and I'm facilitating hypnotherapy, so I had to be quiet. But I remember being like inside, I was
Inside, oh
yeah.
my God.
I was like, okay, I think I can rely on this. I should probably start building some trust.
Yeah. So when you look further back then to when you were younger, a kid, were there any inklings, or when you look back at it now, were there any signs that, holy shit, I've had these gifts since I was a kid and
Oh,
just
yeah.
didn't realize what it was?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the way that I see the world is very like through energetics, and I
Hmm.
feel what other people feel. That's my strongest gift is my clairsentience. So I can look at
Okay.
someone and automatically feel what they feel. And I just thought that's how
Mm.
everybody was. But it wasn't until later I learned that was a gift. I can develop it and I can use it to help people understand themselves better and heal themselves holistically. So it took this broad thing that was part of just me and I honed it in, and that's how I was able
Mhm.
to business from it.
Does anyone else in your family, do they have any of these gifts that
No.
you know of? No.
No.
Okay.
It's just pretty I would have loved to grow up in a family of spiritual wise women, like that type, but that
Yeah.
just wasn't meant for me. My other family members do have other gifts. They just aren't
Okay.
quite as metaphysical in nature.
Right. Okay. Okay. Now, what did you have to unlearn from the corporate world in order to finally lean in and fully trust your inner knowing and gifts?
I had to learn that I do have a purpose. I have a purpose for my existence. It's unique to me, and that is defined by my gifts and my spirit. That's it's not as cookie cutter as like being shoved down the funnel of college and marriage and kids and then corporate America and like the 401k. Like that's it's very limiting, and that's actually like a toxic trait of what I find like our society to be today is that like my
Yes.
possibilities are infinite and I do have a purpose. Like I have a
Yeah.
purpose, and that was a huge point for me.
And that's all the conditioning and the plan that the powers that be, in air quotes, want us to follow. Like you said, you go through school, you go to college, you get your degree, you get out of college, you get married, you buy the house, you have the 2.5 kids, the dog, the white picket fence, and you're just a good, obedient citizen.
We're
And
predictable.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's that they create robots. That's what they want. People who don't think for themselves, or people that don't think outside the box. And they don't want that, because when people start thinking outside of the box and thinking for themselves, that's dangerous to the narrative.
That's right. Yeah. They have a structure in place, and when everyone's in
Hmm.
line, like the structure works. But we're actually just
Yeah,
meant to be much more spiritual and creative beings than like the structure we put in place. Yeah.
absolutely. 100%. And so when you opened your practice for the first time, what emotion hit you that you didn't expect?
Oh my gosh. Connectedness. I had
Yeah.
never known connectedness because in order for gifts to work well and ethically and responsibly, being connected into a higher source is the way to do that. And realizing I had a team of guides and I could have a relationship with God, creator, universe, and my higher self. Suddenly, because when I first learned I had spiritual gifts, my world became very narrow. And I still experience that
Hmm.
sometimes. It's lonely. But then it's like
Hmm.
on the other side of the metaphysical, it's huge. And the support is like limitless and endless. And so now I can be connected all the time, every day.
Do you believe that everyone has these abilities within them? It's just a matter of whether they tap into them or not, or do you think it's a select few?
I think that there are a set few of spiritual gifts that you can tap into at different levels. And it depends on what
Okay.
level of consciousness you're operating within. That being
Mm-hmm.
said, everyone does have specific gifts. They might just not be
Mm-hmm.
like psychic. It could be like a gift of protection or a gift of like community building or a gift of bringing joy in a certain scenario. So everyone has
Mm-hmm.
a purpose and everyone has their gifts. But I think everyone can tune into like psychicness and mediumship to like lower levels for sure because we
Mm-hmm.
are spiritual beings.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. How has this work that you do now reshaped the way you see yourself now compared to who you were in your corporate years?
I actually see myself now.
Mm.
Before I would go to work every day and I would put my corporate hat on, and that girl knew how to show up, she knew how to deliver, she knew how to perform, behave, and adapt to be whatever anyone else wanted her to be. And that's what I had learned, I think, since a child of like how to survive. And I just
Mhm.
adopted that to do that in the corporate setting I was in. But that just brought me further and further away from who I actually was. So now like I actually know myself. I see myself.
That's a beautiful gift too, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's imperative for your health.
Absolutely. And your well-being, your mental health, your physical health, all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you see the biggest disconnect between the body's message and the mind's narrative?
I think the missing ingredient there would be the soul direction. You're playing from a handicapped position if you're not taking into account the health of your soul and the health of your spirit and where you are in terms of alignment with the higher powers that be. Because if you're just letting, your mind lead the way, it's very one-dimensional.
What are some of the common misconceptions people have about holistic health, and how do you address those?
I think a lot of people think that holistic health means like eating organic and that there
Yep.
might be some connectedness, but there's not really a full like understanding or that the feeling that you feel when you can really see your life as one whole interconnected thing.
Mm.
It's really so much deeper. Every single thing in your life impacts everything else. So if one area of
Right.
your life is wounded, it's going to show up in every other area. And that's just for you and yourself. So once you reach holism for yourself, then you can bring holism to your family and the people you live with, and then you can bring it out into your community, which then impacts the whole world. So it's a very deep journey, and it's so much more than just eating organic. Although that is
Well,
very important, and it is a vote when you choose to
sure.
do that.
Yeah, for sure. But it's about getting to the root as opposed to the Western medicine way of just putting band-aids over bullet holes and not really they're not addressing the root cause of what's going on with the person. They're
Yeah,
just feeding the symptoms, like addressing the symptoms, and that's it.
yeah. Last night I was on the integrative medicine panel at Dartmouth Maine General Hospital,
Mm.
and the doctors pitched a couple of cases where they were stuck. And so us
Mhm.
with the integrative medicine would come in and say, hold on a second, we're treating the like Western medicine doctors are they're wonderful and we need them.
Of
But
course.
we have to look at where it started. So if someone is like
Hmm.
there was a woman who had a leaky breast that was bleeding blood
Hmm.
for 7 years and she's still struggling with this.
7 years?
7 years she's been dealing with this. Yeah. And so they're looking at what medications they can do. And I'm asking, what was breastfeeding like? What was her birth like? What
Mm-hmm.
was her mother's birth like? Was there a weaning issue? Does she feel pressure to have another baby? Was the baby's ability to be nourished, was that ever put in jeopardy at any point? Like there must be like a deeper reason of why the body is screaming in this way. So you really do need both angles of the Western medicine and then also the more spiritual and holistic integrative side of what energetically is going on.
I love that. And so, do you do a lot of that stuff, sitting on panels with Western medicine doctors and bringing in the more holistic approach to health to work together with the doctors? Do you do
Yeah,
a lot of that?
I do. I do. I'm
So,
so
and
passionate.
I'm curious then, do you now holistic health, do you find that you're bringing in a lot of the spiritual side of it when you're doing that? And how, what's the word I'm looking for? How accepting are they of that when you bring in, if you bring in the spiritual side of things?
So the way I like tee myself up when I'm introducing myself is that I work in energetics, but I specialize in spiritual health, which is a major pillar of health.
Okay.
that they only
Right.
scrape the surface of, which is fine. We all have our own specialties. What I find
Yes.
that when I it's my turn to go and pitch how I would approach this patient,
Mm,
there aren't as many questions. It's a lot of sitting and absorbing. I get questions that
mhm.
trickle in later because they have never.
Right.
One of the symbolic reasons we see someone have a lack of vitamin D absorption is a lack of joy
Mhm.
in their life. So when we go back and
Okay.
look at their profile, I'm saying when they show up to you in person, do they seem happy? Are they sitting with their posture proud? Does it seem like they care about themselves? Have you asked those questions? Because that's how a low vitamin D absorption is related to something going on in their life, which is holistic because you're looking at the
Hmm.
broader view. I think it's more and more being taken seriously. I think it helps that I've been in corporate America and I know how to deliver
Yeah.
content in a non-woo-woo way, which is again, I needed that experience to do what I'm doing
Yeah.
now.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love talking about this stuff because so are you seeing more of an acceptance and integration of the Eastern, we'll call it the Eastern methods or holistic approach with spirituality being more widely accepted by Western medicine and the doctors and the people that you're encountering?
Yes and no. I think doctors
Hmm.
are like, in their defense, I think that they're extremely limited in time with their patients. They can't go in and have the same
Hmm.
conversations that I would have and have a full hour with somebody.
Right.
So I think that they acknowledge that this is an important aspect, but they are forced to stay in their lane because of that. That being
Hmm.
said, where I am seeing a shift and what I advocate for is for people as they're putting together their own personal healthcare team, is they're seeing the value in having both a physical health primary care physician and also a spiritual and integrative health primary care physician because they do work together really well. And I work with people's physical health doctors as I'm as part of a treatment plan or something, which
Yeah.
is great because if that means people are feeling empowered to
Hmm.
look at their spiritual selves on their own and integrate it.
Do you see a world where they become more integrated and more accepting of the spiritual side and working together in a more cohesive manner?
I do. I think it could take some time. My dream is to
Mhm.
start a practice of spiritual medicine where we can do just like you'd have referred to an oncologist or something. I could refer to a womb healer, but it would be tricky to build that network. But I do see that, and I think it is required because if we're just treating the physical, you're not treating the whole. So
Yeah,
people will just inevitably be ill unless we look at the whole part of them.
that we could go down a whole rabbit hole with the whole Western medicine and big pharma wanting to keep people sick and all of the things. But it's amazing because the more women I'm speaking to, I am connecting with more women who are of this mindset and who are of this thinking that we need to integrate both. And I'm meeting people that want to create these centers where we do have both
Mhm.
within this overall overarching place where if you need an oncologist or if you need a Western medicine doctor, there's the room over here. You can go see them. If you want a hypnotherapist, you can go over here where it's
Mhm.
all integrated into one beautiful center to help
Mhm.
where it's like a one-stop shop. And I think that is absolutely brilliant. And that's what the world needs more of.
I agree. I agree. I would also say that we need more people to remember and believe that they are healers themselves and they have everything they need
Yes.
within themselves to heal themselves. So
Hmm.
there's an education piece as well.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I mean, I've talked about this, and what a lot of the women have said is just to prove that we do have everything within us and that we are all healers is if you cut yourself, your body heals itself. It happens in real time. You can
Yeah.
witness your body healing
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the simplest, most basic explanation for it and way to show that we do have the powers within us to heal our bodies. It does it itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Our body's on our team. It wants us
Yeah.
to survive. We often play the blame game. Oh, my body
Yeah.
sucks. It's hold on a
Yeah.
second. What is your body trying to tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask then, with your attendant thing you attended last night, the panel you were on,
Uh-huh.
what was the overall outcome? Did you guys reach an outcome for who had the leaky breast?
We know because there were 7 panelists and we all gave our
Hmm.
different. We had a Chinese medicine,
Hmm.
we had an herbalist. I'm assuming that the doctor who pitched that case in particular is probably sitting with all the information, is trying
Okay.
to. I would assume she might set up one-on-one consultations with some of us or set some
Okay.
referrals. But at least I think the benefit is to widen the there are so many more ways to help this person before making a prescription, another one, because she's
Yeah.
also on 7 medications.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Crazy. Again, that just speaks to my big pharma reference earlier.
I know. And that's you can't heal from that place. When you have all these medications
No.
within you, it's really hard to figure out who you actually are. Yeah.
Because they're giving you one medication for this, and then guess what? That medication has side effects. So you need another medication for that side effect, and so on and so on. Then the next thing you know, you're taking like 7, 10, 12, 15, 20 pills a day for all of this shit
I know.
that couldn't. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
It's crazy. And it's hard to figure out like who to blame because I've
Right.
met so many doctors and they are so wonderful. Like these people, they're wonderful people and they have worked so many years and made so many sacrifices to do what they do, but they aren't quite as educated in spiritual health because that's not what they're there to do. So that's why I think having a team of, and I think this is where sovereignty comes in, because if I'm going to go to a doctor and they make a prescription, I know I'm going to go see my like spiritual health professional and be like, okay, this is one recommendation. What are you getting?
Yeah, yeah. I love this. And I think the world is awakening to all of this to realize that we have been conditioned to believe that the white coats, that the doctors, they know all, and we need to trust in them and that's it. But people are awakening to the fact that no, we don't have to rely on them for everything. There are alternative methods. There are alternative approaches to deal with health issues.
Precisely.
And I love that.
Yeah.
It's so important. That's why I love having conversations like this, because there are so many people out there who don't have a clue that this stuff is available to them, that there are alternate methods for them to look into and investigate. As long as we can have the conversations and share the information, then it's up to the listener to decide, okay, let's try this. I remember that Corbin and Brad were talking about this. I'm going to look into this, right?
Yes.
This is the importance of these conversations. This is why I love having conversations with women like yourself who are doing this work, because this is part of our journey, is to help to educate people, to put the information out there so that they know what's available. Then it's up to them what they do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it's just planting a seed to allow someone to water it later. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's it. 100%. How do you differentiate then between treating symptoms and actually healing the soul?
So the symptoms are just dense messages. And what I mean by that is, so let's say something happens in your life energetically, is sitting out in your field. There's an experience that has like a twang of trauma. And if you just don't deal with it, it's eventually going to come closer and be like, you have to deal with this. And it's going to become denser and denser. And then it's going to become physical. And it's going to show up in the exact part of your body. And your body's like, it's showing up here for a reason. Look at this. It's like laying out a map that we're so oblivious to sometimes. So that's how I see it. So like acne, this is what happens a lot with acne, is like you're, depending on where it is and when it comes up, your body's trying to tell you something. And it's the soul's way of communicating through the body. And it's typically pretty urgent, because you have to imagine like it starts out here as an energetic or emotion, and it's become so dense that it's now physical. That's pretty urgent. It means like we've missed it.
Yeah.
And now we're suffering because of it.
So with acne, since you mentioned that, is it dependent upon where it shows up on the body as to what's causing it, or is it typically the same thing? It's just something in particular. Because of course, it's always emotions that are causing this dis-ease within our bodies. So is it typically the same emotion with acne, or is it dependent upon where it shows up on the person's body as to what's causing it?
So there are a couple different things, and I don't ever want to rule out it being genetic, because sometimes that is a factor, but then you can also look at how can we ancestrally heal this, right? Because it's still energy. But so like I've really never struggled with acne in my whole life. There was a time about 2 years ago after I separated from my husband where I had cystic acne all over my face. Like it hurt. I had never experienced anything like it. And it was showing up because my body was purging the energy of the years spent in unhappiness with that person. So my body was saying like I needed to spend more time like detoxing in my life and being more intentional about that. And because I didn't, it showed up physically. I also sometimes get acne on my face in an area like on my cheek, which in Chinese medicine, it has to do with the spleen, and the spleen represents happiness and work. And so your spleen and your cheek. So like Chinese medicine, there's more of a map, which is pretty cool. But there's always a way to trace it back and find a truth of what's really going on, because nothing just happens for no reason. Nothing.
That is fucking mind blowing. I
Isn't that
love
cool?
talking about this shit. It is.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So when I was a kid or when I was a teenager, I had a lot of acne on my back. It
Yeah.
was really bad when I was
Mhm.
young. And then it ended up as I got older, it went away. But I'm
Mhm.
curious what could have been the cause of that on the back,
Was it on like the upper or lower back?
all over.
All over? Okay. There could have been hormones where intuitively I'm getting like hormonal shifts that were nervously being accepted. It
Okay.
wasn't fully being embraced at the rate at which like the body perhaps wanted to. Lower
Hmm.
back acne can also symbolize worry about like finances or being able to provide for friends or go out and buy
Hmm.
sodas or pop or whatever, that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you for that. I was just
Yeah.
curious. I was just thinking about that since we're talking about acne.
Yeah.
What does soul-centered healing actually look like when someone is deep in pain or chaos?
Realigning beliefs and truths.
Okay.
Chaos to me, that's a word that tells me automatically that the negative frequencies, the lower self-talk, the beliefs and like your trust and faith have slipped. Like Satan has really is like gotcha, like it's trying to
Yeah.
pull you
Yeah.
away from the light. And yeah, when you're looking to do soul-centered healing, I always go back, okay, what is it that you believe? Let's just start there. Do you believe
Hmm.
that you deserve love? Do you believe that you can be happy, healthy, and whole? Do you believe that you can heal yourself? Because that's the foundation. To do any other work without a healthy spiritual health foundation is to build on faulty ground. And then what's
Yeah.
beautiful about these beliefs is that they're also universal truths. So you can rely on them. Like you're always supported, you're always loved, you deserve to be loved.
And everything, we are the foundation for all of it. It all starts with us. We self-love, how much we appreciate ourselves, how much we love ourselves. That's the foundation for everything.
Yeah, and we have God, universe, whatever it is.
Hmm.
That's the steady piece through it all, and that's the connectedness I was talking about at the beginning that like
Yeah.
really changed everything for me. Because no
Hmm.
matter how low I get, and I still do get low, I
Everybody
always
does.
have
We're
that.
humans. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. What is one truth about healing you wish every woman on this planet knew?
Woman, that's tricky. Gosh, healing is for everyone. So I would
Hmm.
say everyone, you can be
Hmm.
whole because you were born whole, and therefore wholeness is always possible. But specifically for women, something that I've navigated in my life is that weight loss or weight gain and extra like poundage for women
Hmm.
always has to do with protection. We are always
Hmm.
protecting ourselves from something. So if you have stubborn weight, what are you protecting yourself from?
Okay. And I've heard a lot of people say when we're talking about weight loss with men or women, the
Mhm.
word, the term weight loss, people, the women that I've spoken to about this and talked about with this is weight loss. Don't Loss insinuates that you've lost it and you can find it again. People like the women that I've spoken to say use the word release, not loss, because loss insinuates that you will find it again and it will come back. So if you use the word release, it's a little bit of a different perspective. That tiny shift in languaging.
I don't know. I'm open to it coming back, actually, because
Okay.
that's the whole like that's like my body telling me that I feel unsafe in an area and that
Hmm.
my body's showing up for me in ways that I am unable to process mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's like
Hmm.
this life, part of my life is scary, so I'm going to protect you by adding layers and protect us from the outside world. And so like right now I have extra pounds because I have quite a few heavy things happening in my life, and
Hmm.
I don't believe in dieting. I am not dieting. I am
Hmm.
working slowly to position myself in a
Hmm.
place where I feel like I can handle everything I have and feel safe, because then I know the weight's just going to fall off.
What is one overlooked piece of the healing puzzle that most people don't even realize they're missing?
Faith, radical faith. Prayer is your strongest tool.
Hmm.
Truly. You like to go into a surgery or something without
Hmm.
prayer, without intention, without belief that you're going to do well is a scary place to be. Really scary place
Okay.
to be. Yeah.
Okay. If you could walk people through one doorway inside themselves that would shift everything, what doorway would that be?
The door would be labeled unconditional love, and we would walk through it and they would cry and weep and be enlightened and healed all at the same time. And then to tell them that this door has always been available, is always available moving forward, and they can take their younger and previous selves through that door at any time would be the door.
That's a pretty powerful portal.
Yeah.
I love that. When you tune into someone's energy, what's the first signal that tells you their soul is exhausted?
It would be like reading their life force. So it's not that like a soul doesn't necessarily get exhausted. What it does get is it's not like a healthily being lived in, stepped in. It's like you just keep pushing it aside, and then you're just living in the human, which is so not the point. It's like you're really not doing too much except for making life more difficult for yourself. But when someone's soul is like being healthily expressed and embodied and trusted, their life force is like magnetic. You can feel it. You can feel it, and like you can see it in their face and like their aura, and it's just, wow, you're a bright person and nothing's going to stop you.
Radiance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. What theme do you see unfolding again and again in people's stories that tells you where collective healing is needed?
I see it in children. And I think I'm shifting to work with children and families more, actually. So children have this inability to be bored anymore. Like their ability to be imaginative is dwindling. They are very oversensitive. Like the smallest of things will like rock their entire world and they'll run away. And I see them like staring off into space of like nothingness, like a lot, like just vast nothingness. Like they're just very disconnected from everything. And when I see that even in my own children, I get scared, and that's like a new thing. They need short hits of dopamine fixes, like from music or games or TV or even, oh my gosh, social media. Not being able to intake education in longer peaceful deliveries. Like they need it to be short and quick, and their attention is gone. Being able to sit and learn and be with others is dwindling as well. And I see this in parents, because parents, I find they have an inability to be a spiritual leader for the next generation. So like I think in Australia, I think just what was it, yesterday? They put up limitations or bans on children under 16 having access to social media or something along those lines. And I think that is actually great. But then the gap following that comes then who is then ushering them into what to do with that time? Because I don't think that a lot of parents of our age are equipped for that.
So this is something I think about this all the time, because, and I just saw a clip of a woman talking about similar things with this generation. They don't know how to handle failure. They don't know how to handle disappointment. They get triggered by every little thing. They get coddled. They get babied. How do we shift this? Because you're right. What are we going to do? So if we take away social media, if we take away the video games, what the hell are they going to do? They're not going to know what the fuck to do with themselves. And I think back to when I was a kid, it's like we were never in the house. We were always outside from the time we finished our breakfast until the lights came on. When we had to be home at that young age, you got to be home before the lights come on outside. We were out. We didn't want to be at home. Like parents I can remember my mom calling, okay, time to come in for lunch. No, I don't want to eat. I don't want to come in. I'm outside. I'm having too much fun. And we don't experience, like, I don't see that anywhere anymore. So how, first of all, I'm curious your thoughts on it. How the fuck did we get here? Second of all, how do we course correct this and shift that? Like exactly what you said. We've got these kids who are addicted to all of these different things, and it's taken up all their time. Their attention spans are short. So what do we do to fill that space when those things do get taken away to course correct?
This is what I would prescribe parents to do. We started we're doing this in my own house, although I do feel equipped to usher my children into spiritual maturity. But there's a show called The Alaskan Bush People.
Okay.
And there's 14 seasons now, and we just learned about it. And they live completely off grid. They're a family of 9. And these children are incredible people. They know how to have a relationship with nature. Not one of them has depression in the way that we know it today. They all know their value and purpose. They are extremely resilient. They are like intelligent in ways that like it's really creative to see it unfold. So I think that's actually a great resource for parents to start seeing, oh,
Mhm.
this way of living, a whole other way of living that's actually much more primal and closer to the way that we were meant to be
Mhm.
exists, and start
Mhm.
learning from that. It's a pretty gentle way to begin learning.
Mhm. So I would think that we could also start with getting more mindful practices into the school system, meditation, things like that, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, all of these different things, get that into the school system. But also on the other side of that, you have, when you think about it, things have changed where now, because of the way society is, because of the economy, both parents have to be working. So how do we navigate that when typically what you'll see is parents using their TVs or their video games or whatever, their self as babysitters, right? Because
Hmm.
they don't have the time. So how do we get back to that? Because I know when I was growing up, for the first 10 years, my mom didn't work. She stayed home. She was a stay-at-home mom. So I don't think that's as possible now as it was back then because of the economy and all of these things. So how do we navigate that problem
Yeah.
where parents can do this?
Yeah. This is like the exact work that I do. So let's say this. Say you're listening, you go off and watch the Alaskan Bush people. You are now
Mhm.
inspired, your perspective has shifted, and your consciousness has raised a little bit about what's possible. After that, where you start is with yourself.
Mhm.
We cannot take on school systems or family systems unless we are whole ourselves. The first order of work is to getting yourself in a place of wholeness. From there, then you can bring it to your family, then you can bring it to your community, and then we can start thinking about systems changing. But it has to start with you. You have to figure out how to be whole yourself.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What has seeing people heal taught you about the fragility and the fierceness of the human soul?
If you believe it, it's possible. There's a lot of
Plain and
truth.
simple.
There's a lot of truth in that. And if you have weak spiritual health, you fall prey to illusion, temptation, and like the low frequencies. Yeah, Satan, dark energy, like the people out there who are
Mhm.
up to no good kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. What would you say to the woman listening who is terrified to step into the life her soul is begging her to claim, to
Ah,
own?
let's meet. Let me help you. No, so a couple of things here. So when you're nervous, it's usually because your spirit is stretching. Growth feels like friction in the body before it feels like clarity in the mind. Your spirit knows, like it can sense, like your whole being can sense an expansion is coming before your personality does. So that's when you feel like you're in the wilderness of I'm not where I was and I'm not yet where I'm going and I'm losing my mind. It's just very difficult to be in
Restless.
that space. Yeah. And so discomfort then is not necessarily danger, it's activation. Like I've learned to lean
Mm.
into discomfort. Of course, if it's not like life threatening, I don't mean like that. I just mean like when I'm feeling
Yes.
uncomfortable, I'm like, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be. Like I gotta just be
Yeah.
confident. And if you weren't growing, you wouldn't be feeling anything. So if you're
Mhm.
nervous or uncomfortable, it's usually because something in you is upgrading and you have to trust it. That's where the trust and faith comes in. Because when you're in the wilderness, that's all you have. Your
Yeah.
spirit recognizes the growth before your mind catches up.
Yeah, for sure. I always know when there's a level up coming. I have this feeling in my body that something big is coming. I'm on the precipice of something and I feel it. I know it in my body that there's a shift coming and it's going to be tough. It's going to take work, but lean into it and like you said, trusting and allowing is the biggest piece. And that's the hard part. I
Yeah.
think that's probably one of the biggest pieces that people struggle with.
Yeah, and that's a skill. It's a
Mhm.
skill that you have to learn. Like trust is something, it's like a muscle that has to be developed. And that's
Yeah.
something to start instilling in your kids now is teaching them how to
Yeah.
trust. And I would just say lastly, because I see a lot of women do this, is don't ever
Mhm.
do anything, don't ever not do something because of fear. So
Right.
that might sound out loud. I want to do this, but I'm scared because of XYZ.
Mhm.
Stop there and be like, fear is getting in the way. What can I replace that with is trust. I know this is right. I'm just going to
Mhm.
toss the rest to the universe and God and trust that because this feels in alignment, it's going to work out. It's not my responsibility to figure out and control each and every little thing along the way. You just have to
Mhm.
lock in on where you're going and what feels most aligned and let the rest go.
Yeah, the how is not up to you. Let the
Yeah,
universe deal with that.
that's right.
That's not your job.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
me too.
What piece of wisdom did you pay for with your own suffering that could save someone else years of pain, would you say?
I struggle with this because I feel like this question's almost a double negative because I'm not like the universe. So like what's going through my mind is that like I can share my earned wisdom, which is like why I have my own podcast and YouTube channel, like all of these things. But at the end of the day, I know that someone, like whatever they need to go through is what they're going to go through. That being said, in order to answer the question, I would say brush up on the spiritual truths and the universal truths, because that is going to be your greatest foundation to endure anything and everything.
Beautiful. What truth about your purpose terrifies you because of how powerful it feels when you say it out loud?
I don't know. What would your answer be to this question?
Terrifies me about my purpose?
Yeah.
I think how big it is, how big my mission is, how big my purpose is. That scares the shit out of me sometimes.
Mm.
And I think that fear, to a certain extent, I think is a very good thing to have, or that nervousness, to that point of nervousness, where, because I think that nervousness or fear, a little bit of fear, keeps us grounded. It helps to keep us grounded. It keeps us from getting overconfident. So I think that's a good thing to have. It's a very fine line, I think, with fear, where it's on this side of it is the good piece where it's healthy to have that. And then on the other side where it becomes paralyzing and it stops you from doing it. So it's a very fine line to walk. So I think the size of, or the overall, I would say the size of my purpose, when I think about it, when I say it out loud, is holy fuck. I know with all of my being that my purpose, my mission is possible and I will achieve it. But when I think about the size of it, it scares the shit out of me sometimes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's so honest. Yeah, what a way to be of service in a way that can touch so many people.
I think that's a huge piece of why we're all here, is to be in and of service to one another. It's our purpose.
Yeah, that is the reason.
That's it, right? We're here to support and uplift each other. That's it. We're here to be kind to one another. Love is the highest vibration on the planet, and we need more of that, I think, now more than ever. And I think that more and more people are stepping into that and realizing and awakening to that fact. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I always say there's more than enough room on this bus for everybody. Get on board. Let's do this together. There's no other way to do it except in community with one another.
Totally. I totally agree. Gosh, since you were so honest, if I'm being very vulnerable, my answer would be that I have a fear that comes in of it not like working out, of it going slower and that I want it to. And I keep having to remind myself to just trust the process. And that's like a constant daily act for me.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for your vulnerability.
Yeah.
And thank you for putting that onto me.
Healing podcast.
Yes. So, Corbin, if your higher self could hijack this mic for 10 seconds, what message would it deliver to humanity?
Oh, gosh. Plain and simple. You are a person with a visa from heaven. And that's the way we need to look at our existence.
With a visa from heaven. That's an interesting take.
Yeah. We're guests here. Like, these bodies are foreign. This is not our home. We're home when we're back in spirit world. We come down here to go to school, right? There's a lot to learn of how to live in chaos and like this destructive era that we're in. And so we need to remember that this is the foreign place and we need to learn how to be.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's a very interesting perspective. Wait, I know the overall perspective makes sense and absolutely agree with you, but the way you worded it, that we're all here on a visa from heaven, that's very interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
What does freedom mean to you at the very deepest level, beyond money, status, recognition?
Authenticity and joy.
How do you define success?
Happiness, health, and peace.
What does the word empowerment mean to you?
It's a lot about life force and confidence, divine support, spiritual activation, inspiration. When you have all of those things behind yourself, it's like you're going to get where you want to go.
Beautiful. Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3 word answer type thing, okay?
Yeah.
What is your favorite place on earth?
With my family.
What is one of your secret or hidden talents?
I can read inanimate objects.
Interesting. If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
We are one.
What is one of your guilty pleasures?
I try not to feel guilty about my pleasures, but I really love letting my partner do all my laundry.
All right. What is one word that sums up your mindset?
Faithful.
One book that changed your life?
The Bible.
One word that defines the woman you are becoming? That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I created a bonus question that I did not send you ahead of time.
Okay.
How do you define love, both the kind you give and the kind you receive?
I fall into the Holy Spirit. That's if you've consciously and intentionally and knowingly experienced the Holy Spirit. That is, and this is new for me. I only started studying the Bible about 4 or 5 months ago. Before that, I was
Okay.
like, I thought it might have been a load of crap kind of thing. But now that I understand, that is the most refined love I've ever felt.
So what was the catalyst then that led you to step into and start studying the Bible? I'm curious.
I've been like a spiritual health professional and teacher for
Mhm.
years now. And
Mhm.
I am writing a book and I'm like a spiritual investigative journalist. And I eventually reached a point where there was like another piece out of all of the spiritual tools. There was still something
Mhm.
missing. I was like, there's still like an anchor point missing. And then the
Okay.
Bible landed in my lap. I was actually studying the frequencies of fabrics. And I had
Okay.
read that in the Torah, there
Mhm.
was word of frequency of fabrics and they wouldn't wear certain cloths together. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should look at some ancient scriptures. And then someone invited me to a non-denominational, non-religious, but just a Bible study. And I
Mhm.
went and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. So I went through a whole bunch of unlearning with the ick I had around God, just being totally
Mhm.
honest. And now I've reestablished like that relationship. It's not religious, which I find to be a very big relief. It's just like
Mhm.
reading the Bible is a guidebook on how to do well here and how to orient my gifts, my ethics, really like everything, my trust.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
If you were to introduce yourself to me without mentioning your occupation, where you're from, your ethnicity, your nationality, where you grew up, all of these day-to-day superficial markers that we use, how would
Mhm.
you introduce yourself to me?
I would say, hi, Brad. I am your neighbor. I am your sister, and I am your family.
I love that. Beautiful. If you could step into my shoes, what's one question you would ask yourself that I didn't ask you?
Oh boy. Gosh. I don't know why this popped into my head, but I guess I would ask myself, this might
Spirit.
seem like really strange. Like you have to just go with it.
Mhm.
Do I want more children? And my answer is a big fat no. However, psychically, I have been shown that I'm going to have 2 more children. And so I am deeply wrestling with that.
Mm.
Yeah.
How many do you have?
2.
2? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
I'd want to meet with Mother Mary because I want to know why she didn't believe in Jesus like all of a sudden. I would want to know how her pregnancy went. What was it like having God in your womb? How was postpartum? Did you breastfeed? How old was he when you weaned? Like all of these questions that I feel like are missing. I'm like, that's my experience. I want to know.
All right. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
I would just tell her that I love her so
Lastly,
much.
Corbin, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your corner of the world, your tribe, your people, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
I would say you are loved, you are guided, and you are never as lost as you think. Come back to your breath, come back to your body, come back to your soul. You were born whole, and nothing can change that. Let your life be an offering of love to yourself, to your children, and to everyone else.
Beautifully said. Wonderful way to end the interview. Corbin, thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. I have thoroughly enjoyed every moment of our conversation. Good laughs, amazing conversation. Thank you for sharing, for your vulnerability. It has been an absolute pleasure. I am so grateful to have had the time to sit and share in your story and your journey. I'm honored to have had the opportunity to sit with you, to have you as a member of the Empowerography community, and to call you a friend. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much, Brad. I really appreciate it.
Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest has been Corbin Chase. She is a holistic health professional, a medical intuitive, a spiritual teacher, and the owner of Corbin Chase Health. Thanks so much, Corbin. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.